Hey Tony, it's Friday. And first off, to answer your question of the week, sure, I'll take a deck of cards. I like decks of cards, so why not? Um, so I'm actually this video is not going to be super long because I have to get some clothes and we just hung out online 10 minutes, 10 15 minutes ago, so that's not really that necessary. But what I want to talk about today is leadership. So, leadership is the thing that people always want to have. But it sucks. Leadership is terrible. It puts a lot of pressure on you, and it's not meant for everyone. Unfortunately, I and Taylor both take up leadership positions all the time.
Mood.
Justice does too. And this came into full focus this week with Amped Guard. So, as I told you a few weeks ago, I'm the sheriff of my Amped Guard field now, which means I'm in charge of the field. Which isn't too bad usually, but it's been particularly stressful the past few weeks because we've had some toxicity happen on field. I'm not going to go into detail to protect privacy, but there were multiple complaints that were made to myself that had to be addressed. And the person who had the most complaints is a very dear friend. So it put me in a very difficult situation because I had to balance out my care for my friend with my duty to the field. And had I been in any other position but a leader, I would have looked at my duty to my friend. But in this case, because I was the leader of the field, I had to do my duty as my position dictates. I had to take this person aside and discuss with them all of the complaints I had received. These are some pretty serious complaints, some of which could have gotten us into legal trouble, which thank God they didn't. But it was a very difficult conversation, and I knew it would be, because meltdowns are very difficult when you have someone on a field, particularly when you're a good friend of said person, and a lot of times in their mind, they look at it as a direct attack. And it was a tough conversation. It was via Facebook Messenger, but it probably lasted about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which I basically had to set out all of the complaints we had received and what they could do to change their behavior. I'm not convinced that the conversation sunk in, but it was something that had to be done regardless. It put me in a difficult position because leadership should not be easy. One thing that I've always kind of found amusing is from A Song of Ice and Fire, actually, the Game of Thrones book series, in which the Iron Throne, the symbol of kingship and leadership within the realm, is the most uncomfortable chair ever because the person who created it said that no leader should ever be comfortable when they're making decisions.
Mood.
And it turns like the lore behind the throne is pretty cool, and I'm not going to get into it because that's a conversation for a different video. But the message itself still goes through, in which leadership should not be easy. Leadership should not be fun. Leadership is something that you have to do. It's something you have a duty to do. And to skirt that duty usually hurts whatever organization you run in the long term.
It hurts you in the long term.
It hurts you in the long term too. Like, I've been a leader of countless organizations going back to elementary school. So none of this was necessarily new to me. But it was slightly different because of the friendly relationship I had with the person in question. And also just other issues that came up that had to be skirted around to not alienate said person. And it was tough. Like, that's the best word I can use to describe it, because it was not simple. It should not have been simple, and it couldn't be simple, because if it was simple, then nothing would have gotten done. And I had to make sure that I did what I had to do. So Tony, my question for you is at what point when you've been a leader of an organization have you had to step in and do something that was incredibly uncomfortable for you? And how did it impact you in the long run? Tony, I'll see you on Tuesday. Later, bro.